Arsenal lead 1-0 at the interval. For those of you tuning in on Facebook Live, this is your chance to shine. Get some questions in for me and Nigel over the next few minutes, and we'll endeavour to answer some of them during the half-time break. So then, Nigel, 1-0 to the Gunners at the interval. Should it have been more?
It should be more. I think Arsenal are completely dominant in this game. Got lots of space to play in, very productive, particularly down the left-hand side. But just the quality of the final pass has not been good enough, or this game would already be over.
Yeah, it should be over, really. Arsenal have had many opportunities. Just hasn't fallen their way inside the box. At times we've seen a couple of fortuitous clearances inside the area, haven't we? But it's been one-way traffic. It surprised me, actually, Nigel, how bad West Ham United have been in this first half. Is it that they have been incredibly poor, or are Arsenal just so superior?
Both. Yeah. Arsenal have controlled the game. West Ham started sloppy, no tempo, a little bit like we talked to Arsenal in midweek. And when you're in poor form, you then find it very difficult to raise it up the next level, and the level of probably above that you need to be to beat Arsenal. Arsenal have capitalised on that with the goal, nicked the ball back, terrific goal. But as I keep saying to you, it should be 2, it could be 3. And a 1-0 almost makes you a little bit nervy, because you have the feeling that West Ham cannot be that bad. But if they keep giving Arsenal that space, there's no doubt in my mind Arsenal will score again.
Yeah, it could be anything in the second half if the pattern continues. Nigel, you talked ahead of kick-off about the need to press high up the pitch because West Ham were lacking in confidence. And we saw it bear fruit, didn't we, for the goal. It was Francis Coquelin that turned the ball over in a terrific area. And then Alexis, 1v1, didn't opt to shoot. And we were impressed.
Yeah, I mean, listen, big players make the right decisions. And when the ball was played through, the ball comes to him. He has a quick look. The shot's on, but he knows that Ozil's standing 6 yards from goal with an empty net. You have to make the pass. Can't miss. So it was the right decision.
Yeah, it was the right decision. And Alexis had another chance, didn't he? 1v1, put through again. West Ham United's defence has been very uncertain in the first period. He just fluffed his lines, didn't he? Which is unusual.
Yeah, he doesn't usually. He's very clinical when he goes through, but his second and his third touch for him was very poor. And then he was coming close to the goalkeeper. He was thinking, should I go over? But he couldn't. It was just his second and his third touch. Which is very unusual for him. We're not good, and the opportunity was gone because he just pushed himself too wide and just knocked the ball too far. But it's so pleasing to see us getting into these positions. But in the second half, as I say to you, when we get there again, you've got to get that second goal before West Ham get their first goal, if they do get a goal. We do not want to let West Ham back in, because the crowd will really come into this if they get back level. Arsenal got to kill this game as quick as they can.
Yeah, before we get to Nicole for some tweets and some questions from Facebook, a quick word on the West Ham United chance. It was the only one they really had. It was Lanzini, wasn't it, that was put through by Dimitri Payet, who was otherwise pretty anonymous.
Yeah, I think with Payet, what you need to do is you've got to back yourself and go very tight on him. He loves to drift in from the left-hand side. But with Lanzini, we just closed the space down very quickly.
And Nacho Monreal, wasn't it, on the cover?
Yeah, it came across beautifully on the cover. I think he ran off the back of a midfield player. So it was good defending.
It was. Right, Nicole Holliday is waiting for us patiently in our social media hub. Nicole, what's the verdict on social media, on Twitter, Facebook?
Well, generally, Arsenal fans are pretty satisfied after that first half, although they would have liked to see a few more goals. A76R says, games like this, Arsenal must capitalise and score a few goals, not ruthless enough. Samran Toheed says, love how in control we are of this game. Come on, you Gunners. Dan Pert says, West Ham United are looking so fragile. Arsenal needs to finish them off. And Lisa Zazera says, how is it still only 1-0?
Good question. What is it down to then, Nigel? Have we lacked a little bit of ruthlessness in this first half? That's what it's felt like at times, especially when we've piled down the left-hand side. Not exclusively. We've got ourselves in some great areas.
Yeah, it just hasn't been the final pass just hasn't been good enough. It hasn't been that clinical pass. And when we've got down that area, you see, I think Monreal's been down there a couple of times, Oxlade-Chamberlain's been down there, and they're looking to make the pass. The one thing I will say is that there hasn't been a clear pass that was easy to make to, like, cross the 6-yard box for someone to tap in at far post. There was a decision to make. Do I whip it in? Do I pull it back? And a couple of times we've gone for the option that it just hasn't worked. Yeah. So it's not been a clear-cut chance.
I'll tell you, there was one. Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain came down the left-hand side and you thought, is he going to shoot? And he opened up on his right and Theo Walcott was screaming for it, wasn't he?
I don't think Theo was on when I looked at it. I didn't think he was on, personally. I could see what the Ox was doing. All he was looking to do was open up his body, right foot curl into the far corner. It looked horrible because he got it completely wrong. If it comes off, everybody goes, wow, what a goal. He's capable of doing that. But as I said to you, if you keep working those positions, there will be a golden opportunity turn up, and I hope it turns up, at 1-0 and not at 1-1, because you don't want West Ham. You don't want to let West Ham back into the game. As I keep saying, kill the game now, straight after half-time, 2-0. For me, the game should be over the way West Ham are playing.
Of course, we've had a reminder of that earlier on today when Manchester City were leading. Chelsea had a few gilt-edged chances to extend their lead. Ended up losing by 3-1. So we hope that's not going to happen, but you do need to capitalise when you are on top. Right, let's check out a chalkboard now from our friends at Opta, and it analyses the touches of Nacho Monreal and Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain. We've mentioned them a couple of times already during this half-time break. Now, what stands out to me, Nigel, is those touches, well, within the final 8-9 yards of the pitch. They're shared out, I think, between the pair of them. Great areas to be in.
Yeah, I think you've got 6 inside the box, from just outside the 6-yard line to the byline, and a couple more just outside. You would expect when you get to those positions inside the box, I would expect a goal to come from that, and that's the one. Is the slight negative.
You've been impressed by the Ox's ability to get into those areas, and Monreal as well, haven't you?
Yeah, I mean, I'll never criticise a player that gets into position, but it doesn't quite work for him, in terms of the execution of the pass, or he takes a shot on, it doesn't quite work. What you've got to keep doing is getting into those areas and back yourself with the confidence that you're going to pick out the right pass eventually. I'm confident if Oxlade-Chamberlain or Monreal get into that position in the second half as many times, there will be a goal come from it. Yeah,
I certainly hope so. We did see James Collins go off after about 6 minutes with a pulled calf, or at least it looked that way. Arbeloa came on as the right-sided centre-half, and it was in that area, wasn't it, with Arbeloa and the makeshift wing-back Ed Milson. Didn't really know what they were doing, or it didn't look like they knew what they were doing, did it?
Yeah, because it looks as if Arbeloa doesn't want to come out into the wide areas, and Milson is then slightly ahead of him, and a pass is on through between them for either Monreal or the Ox, who was ahead of the wing back.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, it's an easy pass. That's why we've got it so much. So the distance between those two is just not right.
No.
So hopefully in the second half it won't be right either.
Fingers crossed. Right, Nicole, I'm sure your timeline has been flooded with points and questions. What have you got for us?
Yeah, there are loads and loads of great questions. Hashem Al-Mazidi says, Bellerin and Debussy are both injured. Now Gabriel looks injured as well. Who are our right-back options?
That's an interesting one. How do you think Gabriel is... obviously, we were worried he might have to go off injured just before half-time. Seemed to run it off. I think he's done pretty well on Dimitri Payet in this first half.
Yeah, because I think what you can do is that you can go a little bit tighter on Payet. What I said to you at the start of the game is you've got to back yourself. He might beat you occasionally with a little bit of skill, but if you're close to him, nibbling at him and not giving him the freedom, you're asking questions on him. He loves to come from left into right-hand side. To me, he's a player that I would always go tight on. Always.
I remember a certain Arsenal fullback used to nibble away at the ankles of a winger sat next to me. Nicole, any more questions?
Yep. Mark Meredith says, Coquelin gets booked, then there are 2 bad tackles on him with no bookings. Is the ref being consistent?
Yeah, what you made of a ref? I mean, Coquelin's been involved, hasn't he? Needs to be careful he doesn't react to anything else. It seems like they have targeted Francis Coquelin. They've knocked him over a few times, and we all know that he's the type that will get aggressive.
Yeah, I don't think the ref, to be fair, has had much to deal with. Coquelin's booking, you could say that at least one of the other challenges on him should have gone down as a booking. What he has to do is, in the dressing room, you've got to have the manager and all his coaches around him just into his face, telling him, control your game, keep playing. Whatever you do, do not react. You cannot afford to get sent off. In essence now, when he plays in this second half, he can go tight, but he doesn't need to make a sliding challenge because he can just block. All he has to think in his mind, just block, just block. I don't need to go sliding in wild challenges. And if he looks like he's losing control, we've seen Arsene Wenger before, drag him off. Exactly. You can't go down to 10 men.
No, absolutely not. He can take a leaf out of Granit Xhaka's book, actually. He's been very calm in this first half. He's passing. The last time I looked at Granit Xhaka's passing stats before half-time, it was 100%. He's looked after the ball really nicely alongside Francis Coquelin in that first period. Nicole, have you got one more for us?
I do indeed. James Lubbock says, do you think that Ox is low on confidence, or do you think he's going through a rough patch?
Over to you, Nigel. What do you think?
No, I don't think he's got... I think when he came on the other night, he was the one player that used his confidence to go past players. He brought energy to the game. I always say, and I've just mentioned it earlier, keep doing the same things. Keep asking questions of the wing-back or the full-back. Keep putting yourself in positions in and around the box. Eventually, he will score or he'll pick out a pass. I would be so disappointed if we came in the second half and said, where did Oxlade-Chamberlain go? I didn't see him in any of the attacking areas. Keep putting yourself in those positions. If you don't pick the final pass out today, you can hold your hands up and say, I wasn't so good on me passing today, but I kept getting into the right ideas. If you don't get into them areas as a winger, you go, you're going to get dragged off. So I'm not worried. I want to see him keep getting into those areas. And as I just said earlier, if he does, I'm confident he'll pick out the right pass and we will score. If not him, Monreal.
You still believe 3 points in the bag today?
I've been pretty confident all the way through. I'm always getting nervous when Arsenal are so dominant and have not killed the game. On this first half performance, they should go on to win the game. Yep,
I agree wholeheartedly. Let's head back to the London Stadium now, shall we? And rejoin our men on the mics, Josh James and Dan Roebuck. Enjoy the second half.
Welcome back. Arsenal on their way to second place in the Premier League, it would appear. A goal to the good against West Ham here at the London Stadium. The West Ham players second out.